All right, well, here we go. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. I just want to give a quick preface before we get started. Last night was our Green Bay Packers show, so if you are a Green Bay Packers fan, check that out. We recapped the entire Seahawks game and previewed the upcoming Monday Night Football game against the Saints. And then we just want to give a quick programming reminder. We reminded everybody at the end of that episode. We're going to remind everybody at the beginning of this episode. Next week, we're not going to do Christmas Eve and Christmas. We're going to do Thursday and Friday next week. So, Michael, you'll have to coordinate with you to see if you're free for that. But next week's plan is next Thursday and Friday. So today we have just one Badger game, 2 Bucks games, and the Devin Williams trade to get to today. So we're going to start with the Badgers after the intro.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All righty, so we are going to get into the Badgers game against Butler. This was a quote-unquote neutral site game, but took place pretty close to Butler, so I put this as at Butler. But going into it, Mike, start with the guards. How did the guards do against Butler?
Yeah, I mean the guards for the most part kind of just did their thing, pretty somewhat average for in comparison. Max Klesman, he was kind of held in check this game, and credit to Butler. He was held to 11 points, 1 of 7 shooting, 1 of 6 from 3. Major call out. He was 8 of 8 from the free throw line, which was great on his part to contribute wherever he could, even though it wasn't the greatest day for him offensively. So, and on top of that, with the 8 for 8 free throws, the Badgers are 25 of 27 for the game. Awesome job there. It's a part of the game that looks pretty promising for us for the whole year collectively. So, like what I see there. And then we go to Kamari McGee. I think this guy's probably my favorite player on the team. If you guys haven't been able to tell yet, he's just kind of a spark plug. And I think of myself when I play basketball as a spark plug too, whether it's coming off the bench or just starting when I play too. I don't need to do everything by any means, but 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, stat stuffer for sure. He's also 55% from 3 on the year, which is very, very impressive considering where he's come from in this program 3 years in. 12 of 22 from 3. I like that he takes every look that he's taken from 3. I think you could say has been a good look too. So he's very efficient when he does take those shots. Kudos to him. Definitely was a big factor in this game. And then I'll just give my takeaways real quick. Jake, you're obviously going to be talking about it, but I thought Nolan Winter took a huge step in this game, and he's actually piling on good games like the last couple or so. He's continuing to be very consistent, I guess you could say. That's a great way to put it. And then Big Steve, we got a pulse from him as well. Great to see that finally. We can talk some positivity there. And then I thought a really good job was the Badgers only committed 3 turnovers this game. That's a season low. 19 assists to 3 turnovers. That definitely correlates a little bit there. All said and done.
19 assists on 26 made field goals. That's great work.
Efficient, very very efficient. I think this game, and then I think collectively we were able to shut down Butler's best player, Jameel Telford. This guy was coming in averaging 17 points a game, 47% shooting. Kudos to the Badgers for putting a big emphasis on stopping him. We held him to 8 points, 3 of 10 shooting, and 2 turnovers. So, overall good win. You're going on the road at Indianapolis. It wasn't necessarily the Hinkle Fieldhouse by any means, but it was still, in Butler's, hometown.
Backyard.
So it is an away game, at least in my view. So it was good to get a nice solid win on the road against a Big East opponent, and it's shaping us up to hopefully get a good win this upcoming Sunday, and then jump into conference play.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you, especially on Max Klesman doing other things, and I'm going to let Jake talk about the bigs before I give any big thoughts that I have, because I want to kind of tie them all together. But looking at the wings, just looking at John Tonje and John Blackwell, both of them driving to the basket is opening things up for other players. And that's definitely what I appreciated about them most in this game. John Blackwell worked really well with Nolan Winter, Stephen Crowell, and Carter Gilmore to get all of them layups off of him driving to the basket. So I really like what I'm seeing from John Blackwell in that aspect. Once he starts consistently knocking down threes, he's going to be a nationwide problem.
Yep.
That's really the last hill for him to conquer, because he is strong driving to the basket. He is strong defensively. Once he's knocking down threes with even 35% consistency, he's going to be a problem.
Yep.
So he didn't have any turnovers, which is a big deal because that's something that he kind of struggled with over the last few games during that losing streak. Same with John Tonje. He was driving to the basket, able to get himself an early and one. And then just the Badgers emphasizing the paint, Klesmit handling the ball a lot, kind of minimized the opportunities for John Tonje in this game. It won't be the norm. We've seen what the norm is from John Tonje when he's taking, 12-ish shots. Just 2 for 8 this game, 0 for 4 from the three-point line, but he did finish 7 for 7 at the free throw line. So he had 11 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, only 1 turnover. So those two went from combining for about 8 or 9 turnovers for the last couple games down to 1. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Mike already hit on the free throws. I agree with you on the defensive side of the ball. The energy was much better to start. They were giving a little bit too much space to some of Butler's shooters, and they were making some threes off of that. But overall, just a much more aggressive start to the game, which I appreciated, especially on both sides of the ball. I will wait to get to the bigs. The Badgers did start on a 9-0 run. They made a 10-0 run to end the first half. I'm going to save my thoughts on that. And then at one point in the second half, the Butler was able to cut the lead down to 5. And the Badgers went on a 7-0 run and pushed it right back to 12. So I loved the response from that. And then I'm going to let Jake talk about the bigs before I say anything else.
Yeah, so as we get into the bigs, I want to give a shout-out to a former big. Brian Butch was on the call. It was nice to hear that. I listened to him on the radio in the morning at work, so it was nice to go from work setting to watching him on TV and hearing the same voice. I was like, comfort zone, man. So talking about Winter, 20 points. So I always get like tongue-tied when I say Winter because it's my daughter's name, and then it's just kids watching. It's just talking about Winter, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. I hope I can say that about my daughter one day. Get down there and be big. 8 of 15 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. So I really love his confidence, shooting the 3 ball. He's not afraid to let it fly. And I swear he's this close. He has a good looking shot. So every one he shoots, I'm like, is that going in? And it's close. He's close to an explosion, in my opinion, where he just has like a 30-point game because he's hitting all 4 of his 3-point attempts, and he's just going to explode. And people are going to be like, whoa, Wisconsin's got a big man. Oh, he reminds me of Frank Kaminsky. People are going to say that. I'm telling you right now. And then talking about Stephen Crowell. So gave him a lot of flack last week. I wasn't the only one. I feel like I have the right to do that when his head coach calls him out publicly in the presser. I feel like that's the time when it's okay. And he responded. And I want to give him a little bit of credit for carrying that weight through those off days into the game, and then carrying it and responding like a man. He's like, okay, you want me to play big? You want me to be big? I'll be big. And there was times in that game, and I'm like, holy shit, I forgot you were 7 feet tall. You look 7 feet tall. There was a few times, and he has this knack every once in a while where when he catches the ball, he brings it down. What's the one rule about a big man? Do not bring the ball down, because then you give those little guys a chance to either foul you or knock the damn ball out of your hands. When he caught it, he kept it high, stayed strong, and he finished. And it was really nice to see, using the rim for protection as well. He's not a vertical guy. So just being smart with the basketball. I thought he was tremendous. 7 of 10, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. So the starting bigs together had 38 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 15 of 25 from the field, 3 of 7 from the three-point line. I mean, that's tremendous. This is the Stephen Crowell that the Badgers are going to need if they're going to be taken seriously in the Big Ten this year. Like, let's call it what it is, right? We need this Stephen Crowell. We're going to need this, the Tonje that we saw, maybe not necessarily against Arizona, but him continuing to stay downhill and get to the free throw line. Same thing with Max Klesmit, forcing the issue over there, and just have our big guys be big, right? And the biggest thing for me, 2 for 3 from 3, man. That's incredible stuff. That's good stuff from him. The bench bigs, Amos only played 6 minutes, took 2 shots, 1 from 3, didn't score. You mentioned your favorite player. My favorite player is Carter Gilmore, by far, not even close. That's my boy. 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. He's taking his 2 threes. Me and Tyler were discussing it. 2 threes a game. That's fine. Absolutely okay with that. They have to respect you out there then because they know that you will shoot, right? And you're making some of them.
Yep.
Well, he scored 7 points of the 13 bench points. So good job by them. I was looking at the rebounding in this game because that's what I like to look at for the big men. Both teams had 32 rebounds. Both teams had 5 offensive rebounds. Both teams had 27 defensive rebounds.
Huh.
The Badgers had 11
Really?
second chance points. Yes. The Badgers had
All
11
identical. That's
second chance
wild.
points. Butler had 10 second chance points. So you're looking at this game and you're like, how'd they win
yeah.
by 9 points in the paint? Badgers won that by 16 points. We scored 40 points in the paint.
Yep.
Scored
Didn't see
24 points in the paint. So not only did they do it on offense, they did it on defense as well. So very nice job from the big men. I have 0 complaints from this game from my perspective.
So you brought up the points in the paint. The 40 out of the 83 points scored were in the paint. The Bucks were hammering, or the Badgers were hammering, having their big men slip on screens and rolling to the basket.
Yeah.
Nolan Winter and Stephen Crowell did a really good job, and even Carter Gilmore did a really good job there. Crowell was more aggressive to start the game from the inside and the outside. That is a big thing for me because that's something that's irritated me over the last 2 seasons is when he catches the ball on the three-point line and acts like a guy who's not going to shoot the three when we know he can. So, it's not like it's irritating me to the point of like bothering me personally, but as far as Stephen Crowell is capable as a basketball player, you are capable of making that. You are capable of scoring from there. I want to see you live to your potential. So aggressive right away from both sides of the ball, and the inside and the outside. Carter Gilmore being the first substitute coming into the game and coming in for Stephen Crowell. I like that. Nolan Winter working his ass off defensively. I like that. And then I mentioned that 10-0 run that the Badgers had to end the first half. 5 of those 10 points were scored by Stephen Crowell. We like that. So just all of these things, combining, I just wanted to say that I really like how Greg Gard is using the bigs.
When I watch Nolan Winter play, and I'm not even really thinking Frank Kaminsky necessarily, I'm literally thinking when they do that pick and pop, he literally lines up, he catches the ball at the exact same spots where guys like Jared Bergeron and Mike Bruzewitz were shooting them threes too. I think about that like more and more. I don't know what you got, if you kind of correlate a little bit, but it's like kind of like that same exact spot kind of where he's getting his best looks, I would say, somewhat shading the top of the key, so similar to the left or right hand side. But it's like, damn, dude, I'm like I feel like I'm watching Bergeron and Bruzewitz because that's exactly where they would take their 3-point shots as well. So
yeah, actually that's fair because Frank was really good from the top of the key, like straight on. That's where he really liked his 3-point shots.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I was going to say and I forgot now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's not your fault. It's Mike's.
Hey, that's minister to you.
No, just I like the way that Greg Gard is using the bigs. Because on Nolan Winter, when you mentioned him catching on that kind of like the elbow extended, he hit a 3 there, and then later on in the game, he drove from there, jumped from the left block, brought the ball down, and did a layup on the right side at 6'11". That was awesome.
That's the stuff that reminds me of Frank because he was actually good off the dribble in college.
Yeah.
That's what made him player of the
moves
year.
And all that too to go with it. Oh,
yeah.
We roll some of that film.
Oh my goodness.
They've probably been going through that with him since summertime.
Yeah,
100%.
All of those guys.
Yeah.
All right. So the Badgers only have one game between now and next week, Thursday, when we are back. So we're going to have just one game with Mike next week again. They played Detroit Mercy on Sunday. Thankfully, the leading college scorer isn't there anymore, so we don't have to deal with that guy. But we will have that game next week. So anything else you guys want to say on the Badgers before we switch to the Bucks?
Not really. Keep on keeping on. Don't want to change it too dramatically, but the transfer portal is pretty wild on the football side of things. Interested to see how that transpires as the days go on, especially I think the portal entries end on the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. I think the
Sounds right.
9th through the 28th.
Something.
No, it's going to be a very entertaining rest of the December. The Badgers, yes, they've been doing a good job picking up players. We still have a few positions to attack yet. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Yeah. Well, we're going to let the dust settle on that before we start giving thoughts on it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, we will see you again next week, and have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Later,
brother.
fellas.
All righty. We are going to switch now to the Milwaukee Bucks, and we're going to switch it this way. So here we go. Switching to the Bucks. Now we had 2 games. Now these both counted for the NBA Cup. Starting with the Hawks game on Saturday, and then they played the Thunder last night. So let's start with the Hawks game from Saturday. What did you take away from the semifinal game?
Oh, man. Dame and Giannis, that duo is just it. If it wasn't number one on your list, it's creeping up there, man. And people, the more they play together, you can really see. And then where you can really see it is when they come off the floor together during timeouts or during dead balls, and they're just consistently like talking to each other. And it wasn't like last year where when they were talking to each other, you knew they were trying to figure shit out.
Right.
They're really just like talking to each other, being like, "Hey, this is what I saw. Make sure you get to that spot this time."
Yeah.
And then they don't even like they're starting to kind of develop a look, that kind of relationship.
It's
like,
going from. I agree with you on the figuring it out thing. It's like it's going more from this is what I like, or this is how I'm seeing things, and this is how this is, to this is how we can do this.
Yes. It's not trying to force the chemistry. It's just keep continuing to build on it is kind of where I'm kind of going with it.
It's less like learning each other and now like learning together.
Yeah. And it just looks so much more effortless this year with those two, and it's made a huge difference. I mean, Giannis 32, 14, and 9, 10 of 15 from the field. Dame didn't have the most efficient shooting game, but he had 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Just a great game from him. Again, forcing the issue going downhill. He just puts so much pressure on the defense, and I don't think people respect it enough how much pressure he actually puts on the defense with the dribble drive, not just his three-point shooting. But I did want to call this out, and I know you're going to agree with it, so I don't even have to ask your opinion on it. The biggest difference between Jrue Holiday and Damian Lillard is Giannis doesn't have to shoot threes now. Before, with Jrue Holiday, now he's not a bad three-point shooter, but he's definitely not Damian Lillard.
No.
Like they're not even in the same stratosphere. Just like I wouldn't say Dame is in the same stratosphere as Jrue on defense, but he's still respectable. And he gets a lot of tips, actually. He forces a lot of havoc,
deflections
in the ball.
Yeah.
But Damian Lillard forcing the defense out farther has given Giannis so much more space. And then even when they double down, the defense still has to shade to the side of Dame, which is giving the other guys wide open threes. Hello, Taurean Prince. So, talking about that, got to give credit to everybody in the front office for making that move and making that call. Because 10 out of 10 times, I don't care how last year went, you're making that trade.
Yep.
Especially with a guy like Giannis.
Yep.
Talking about rebounding, the Bucks had 47 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, 41 defensive rebounds. So they won in total rebounds. They were one off on the offensive rebounds, but they didn't allow Atlanta, who is an okay offensive rebounding team, to kill them there. And they cleaned up the boards on the defensive side. So good job by the Bucks. Good job boxing out. Wanted to talk about efficiency scoring. Excuse me real quick. In terms of drive, we had 17 points from there, 33 from catch and shoot. We didn't have the best shooting percentages there, but you still have to try to shoot those. Jrue is in a perfect position being the 4th option on his team.
Exactly.
Sometimes he's a 6th option.
Yeah. I mean, Derek White is a higher option. Sometimes Peyton Pritchard is a higher option. But
this year
that's the thing. Like Scary brought this up. The Bucks didn't trade Jrue Holiday to the Celtics.
No.
People have to stop acting like the Bucks gave Jrue Holiday to the Celtics. They didn't. They traded him to the Trailblazers knowing that they were going to flip him.
Yep.
So put that out of your mind. Again, and like Scary just said, being the 4th option, 5th option, 6th option sometimes, he can focus on defense and just take 5 shots a game.
Yeah.
The thing that got Jrue traded, unfortunately, was being bad in 2 consecutive playoff series when the Bucks were without Chris Middleton, having to be the second option and not being the guy. And then on top of that, getting absolutely cooked by Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that was kind of the nail in the coffin. Let's call it what it is, right? That was Horse sitting there like he can't be a reliable scorer when we need him to be a reliable scorer. And now the thing that we have him on the team for, he's not even doing that. That was where he was like, okay, Trailblazers want to move on from Dame. I know this. Everybody in the NBA world knew this for at least a year and a half to almost 2 years. And it was like, you got to pull the trigger. You have a guy like Giannis who's a generational talent. And you have to try to extend that championship window as long as you can. You go get a guy like Damian Lillard who's hungry, who's as talented as anybody else in this league. Top 5 3-point shooter of all time.
Yep.
No matter what way you cut it, percentages,
Literally
makes it, he's a top 5 3-point shooter in NBA history. You got to pair that with a guy like Giannis, who is a top 5 finisher in NBA history. That's just a match made in heaven. So in terms of pull-ups, the Bucks had, getting back to the efficiency, 23 points on pull-ups. That's always Damian Lillard's MO, dude. And I'm so excited. Dude, you have no idea. If I had a meter to measure how excited I am to see the pull-up game when Chris Middleton gets his legs, bro, we are going to be filthy because Giannis is making pull-ups, bro.
The Bucks will have games this season where they score 140 points.
They will. When Chris and Dame, they're just gonna pick a side. Like you take over the left side tonight, I'll take over the right side. We'll just pull up and we'll take this thing over. They're going to destroy. I cannot wait for that. In terms of paint points, Bucks had 14. Brook Lopez led the way with 8. He shot 4 of 4 on paint touches. So I want to give him credit, doing a really nice job, making himself available in the short corner, driving to the rim, just finding the soft spots in the defense, kind of like a wide receiver does in the NFL. But he's huge and he finished. So 8 of his 16 points were very efficient. So good job by Brook. And also got to shout out the freaking generationally amazing block by Giannis, dude. He is one of maybe 3 people that blocked that. I would say Bam, Wemby, and Giannis. Those are the 3 that came to mind when I thought of that. I say Bam because he's not afraid to go up there and try.
Yeah. No, I
totally
agree with Bam. I'm teetering on the fence of putting Rudy Gobert in there.
Yeah, right. Guy, you think he's blocking a dunk? He can't even make a layup right now.
That has nothing to do with defense.
His confidence is low, dude. That's why I'm saying.
I understand. That. But if we're talking guys in the league that can do it, like he's been defensive player of the year 4 times.
Yeah.
They didn't call him the Stifle Tower for no reason.
That's fair. That is fair. I will digress. I'm just not a fan.
I would say if he puts on like 10 or 15 pounds of muscle, like Nicholas Claxton could be that guy. If he puts on 20 to 25 pounds of muscle, maybe Evan Mobley could be that guy. But
I can see Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
That
those guys need to have a talk with Giannis's weight room guy.
Yeah, right.
So the thing with that Stifle Tower.
Yeah.
The thing with Giannis getting that block, we've discussed this before. You have to be willing to get dunked on to make plays like that. So when Giannis gets dunked on, yeah, it's a big deal because he does stuff like this. So it's a kind of a twisted perspective thing. It sucks once in a while when Giannis does get posterized. It does happen. But you have to be willing to get dunked on to make plays like this. So I respect it anytime somebody goes to try to contest a dunk and gets dunked on. I don't think it's like oh my God, you just got postered. How embarrassing for you. I respect the effort.
Yeah, me too.
That's the first thing I think of. I respect you for going up because you have to be willing to get dunked on to make plays like that.
100%.
Looking at the Bucks as a team, 14 to 45 on threes. That's 31.1%. Not the best, but I want them shooting closer to 40 threes a game than 30. They had a couple games where they were only shooting 29, 30-ish threes. I'd like them right around 40. More on that in a minute. Taurean Prince was 2 for 7 in this game. He's been sick, and he leads the NBA in three-point percentage, so he's entitled to a bad game here and there.
Great.
Just looking at the bench was 4 of 18, which is kind of rough, which means that the starters were 10 of 27, which is a little bit better. Other than that, turnovers, Bucks had 12, allowed 14 points off turnovers. The Bucks did match that, so it's kind of it's a wash on turnovers and points off turnovers.
Yep.
Damian Lillard, not having his most efficient game, but we got Dame time, not just on offense, but on defense as well.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
It's a clutch floater and gets a steal on the last possession of the game, knocking the ball out of Clint Capella's hands. So Damian Lillard is not – he's not this traffic cone on defense that people want to make him out to be.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to know what the Hawks shot against Damian Lillard?
Probably not great.
2 for 6.
That's not great. That is 33%.
That is 33% from the field against Damian Lillard matchups.
I like that.
Looking at Giannis, he helped close the game as well. The fact that he hit like a Kobe Bryant-esque fadeaway, that was shit. I don't ever want to hear somebody say that Giannis doesn't have a bag ever again.
Ever again.
Ever again. It's should have been dead for a couple years now, but between his court vision and the way that he's hitting jumpers this season, I don't give a shit that he can't shoot threes, and I don't give a shit that he's like 5 to 8% lower on free throws than I'd like him to be. I don't care, because he is scoring 30-plus points a game every game, and your team cannot stop him.
Oh, just wait till
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Not only that, but he did score or assist on the first 7 points of the game as well. So started the game, helped end the game. The Bucks jumped out 7-0 to start this game, and they shot 5 of 13 when guarded by Giannis. Other matchups, the Hawks were 2 for 10 against Bobby Portis and 2 for 6 against AJ Green. So good job there defensively. Ajax did okay on Trae Young. But he did get baited into 3 fouls that allowed Trae Young to shoot 9 free throws. So just kind of a learning opportunity, maybe even only specifically against Trae Young, because I feel like he is such a foul baiter. I can't stand watching Trae Young. If there's a day where like I'm bored and I'm just looking for a basketball game to watch, I will not put on a Hawks game because Trae Young is unwatchable.
I am not going to argue with you, but kind of foreshadowing a little bit, Ajax going against 2 of the biggest free throw merchants in the game, back-to-back games, is crazy, bro. With completely different skill sets, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. I'll give Trae Young a sliver of credit for being savvy on being able to bait the younger player into those fouls, but it's boring to watch. And it's just annoying.
Yeah.
Lastly, Brook Lopez came alive in the second half specifically. He was 4 for 5 from the field, 2 for 3 on threes. 10 of his 16 points came in the second half, and he was plus 21 for the game, led the team. I was kind of hard on him in the first half when Jake and I were talking. But a little bit into the third quarter, he hit a 3, got a block that then led to a Taurean Prince 3 that put the Bucks up by 8 points. This was a pretty close game for most of the game. But it was good to see Brook Lopez kind of help the Bucks be able to finish this game off.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to say from Bucks Hawks?
We didn't have to play them on the second half of back-to-back. Look how much of a difference it made.
Oh yeah. What a fucking shocker that is.
I was holding that in the whole time, bro.
That's why it annoyed me that they were obviously bringing it up, and it's obviously something that announcers are going to bring up. The fact that they just played 4 days ago. The Hawks beat them by double digits. It's like, yep, there you go.
Don't want to add any context in there, huh? Just want to leave that hanging out there?
Nope, we're just going to say that. Not going to bring anything up about it. No. All right, let's go to last night. The Bucks win the NBA Cup against one of the best teams in the NBA.
Bar none.
They are one of the best young teams. They are one of the best teams, period. They had the best record last season. They have the coach of the year last season. They have an MVP candidate. I don't think he's going to win it anytime soon.
Nope.
But they have a candidate.
Yeah.
And arguably one of the best free agent signings of the offseason.
Yep.
So that's the Thunder. What stood out to you from last night's game, the NBA Cup?
And they made a crazy good trade in the offseason, too. So
Valid.
They're making all the moves, and they still have a freaking $500,000 freaking draft picks, dude. This team's going to be loaded for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
So what stuck out to me? So The first quarter was very close, high scoring. The first half ended 51-50, and then Doc Rivers took his crew into the locker room, and they were ready to belts to ass. They scored 31 points in the second half, bro.
That's amazing. That's a quarter. That's a quarter.
They scored 28 in the first. They almost scored 31 if it wasn't for a buzzer beater three that was called off because it was on his fingertip.
Yeah.
That's 2 quarters worth of game time.
To score 1 quarter
24 minutes, 31 points.
Yeah.
I've been and I don't want to step on your toes with the defense stuff, but there was just so much to take away from this play. Held the Thunder to the lowest field goal percentage of the year, 33%. Held them to their worst 3-point field goal percentage of the year, 15%. I'm going to leave the SGA stuff for you because Andre Jackson Jr., as he came in as a good defender, and we saw that last year, we were like, "Ooh, okay,
Yep.
This guy plays." First of all, he plays a high energy. It's the main thing. He wants to be on the floor, and you could tell that by how he competes on defense. So plays with energy. He competes on defense. He's now, as he gets more playing time, as he's around guys like Giannis, as he's around guys like Doc, as he's around guys like Chris Middleton. Believe it or not, people need to start putting a little bit more respect on his basketball IQ. We're going to keep saying that every single week. People do. His basketball IQ on defense is getting much better.
Yeah,
he is going to be he's going to be known as one of the best defenders in the NBA over the next couple of years, in my opinion, just by the way that he can stay strong. He can guard multiple types of people. I mean, going from Trae Young to SGA is a big, strong guy.
Yeah,
I should call him
6'6".
a kid. Really. He can get to his spot. He's a very good mid-range shooter. He can finish. He's not really known for three-point shooting. He just shoots a bunch of them, so he makes some of them.
Yeah, he makes some of them. That's an accurate statement.
He's not a good shooter, dude.
He's not. He's really not.
But I just really love Andre Jackson Jr.'s effort, dude. I really just gravitate towards those kinds of players. That's why me and you fell in love with a guy like Pat Connaughton, because he was that guy. He was the guy diving on the floor, getting bloody right away, right?
Yep.
So looking at Giannis, dude, 26 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, another couple monster blocks last night where you're just like, only you, dude. Only you, honestly. Last night when Giannis won the NBA Cup and the NBA Cup MVP, he passed MJ and LBJ for the title of most different trophies in a career with 9. MJ and LeBron have 8 because MJ didn't have a chance to win the NBA Cup, or I'm pretty sure he would have. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have won at least one.
He would have won the MVP as well. But the only thing that Giannis didn't win was Rookie of the Year, really, at this point. That's the only one that he didn't win.
But he got himself a most improved, so that's...
Yeah. So, also, the Bucks are 12-1 all-time in NBA Cup games. Prince has 2 NBA Cups. He's 14-0 all-time in NBA Cup games. The next closest player with the best record in NBA Cup games is Pat Connaughton at 7-0.
Oh.
Pat Connaughton 7-0 in NBA Cup games. So the Bucks were made for this tournament, apparently. The bench overall 27 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 10 of 25 from the field, but 7 of 15 from downtown. That's the key. They were stretching the floor and they were all playing defense. There was times, and this is going to be the last thing I'm going to talk about before I hand it over to you. There was times where OKC was really trying to put the pressure and extend the defense, half court, 3/4 court, and really force the Bucks to make some mistakes. And the Bucks turned the ball over a hefty amount last night, but they got a little bit sloppy with their passes or maybe dribbled it off their foot. The other thing is they tried to throw every single player on that roster at Giannis. Whether it was 1-on-1 or 2 of them or 3 of them or 5 of them, it didn't matter. Giannis did an absolute great job. And here's where the difference between him and Jokic, that people don't give Giannis the credit. Giannis does play with good pace. Now, he can force the issue if you want to run. You don't want to run with him, I promise, because he's going to get to the rim and he's going to score 50 on you.
And you're going to end up on the ground in pain.
And, don't worry, I have a tweet I'm going to tell you too. And he just does a good job understanding pace. That was probably the biggest growth in his playmaking is, okay, they're trying to force me to play a little bit faster than I want to right now. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to get into my triple threat. I'm going to turn my back a little bit, protect this basketball. And, I'm going to work the middle of this floor so I can get my guys open. He did a tremendous job of that last night, and nobody's going to talk about it. But we are.
Just us.
I'm going to tell you this. I saw this tweet today, and I was like, bro, that is straight facts. I should have wrote down the name. This dude tweeted out, he said, everybody wants to play physical until 34 comes around and starts knocking your ass around. Then you want to complain saying he's playing football. Tell me I'm wrong.
That's not at all wrong.
The Thunder are a good team. I am not discrediting them at all. They play physical defense. They have a lot of guys that can throw at you.
Yep.
It's different when 34 is out there throwing them both.
The difference is he is strong, fast, and athletic and big.
Yeah.
Most players in the NBA have about 2 of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a little bit different when, Dwight Howard was backing a guy down because
True.
you're not putting a 6'8" defender on Dwight Howard because you don't have to stay in front of his dribble.
100%.
It's different than when Shaq would back guys down because teams were only carrying 6-7 footers because they'd run out of fouls.
Yep.
Giannis makes you have to defend everything except for the 3-point line.
Yeah.
So that's where I think people don't end up liking it, is because literally everybody on your roster was too small.
Doesn't matter.
It didn't matter. It literally didn't matter. Not even Isaiah Hartenstein was strong enough for him.
Little.
Too little. Isaiah Hartenstein, a 7-footer, a center, not strong enough to stay in front of Giannis.
Nope.
That's before you even get to the fact that he's not nearly fast enough.
No, not even close, dude.
So that's why I think people don't like it. Because Giannis is faster, stronger, more athletic, and bigger than most of the guys that you're going to try to be able to defend him with.
Okay. I'm with it.
And we've been in pretty strong agreement on this that pretty much Bam Adebayo is the only guy that really has a shot.
I mean, for some reason, Al Horford is going to be 100 years old, and he's going to be able to guard Giannis. I'll be very excited when that guy retires.
Yeah.
He'll get trashed. Talking about Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo will score 35 on him 2 nights prior, and then he'll be like, oh, Giannis? Oh, I should play some defense tonight because he knows he's going to be a sports center, bro.
I feel like he tries to lock in for that.
He does. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's just like a mindset thing. Like, oh, Giannis is one of the best power forwards of all time. Yeah, I should play against. Him.
I feel like he probably lights an altar to Bill Russell. Like, what do they need from me this game? They need me to defend Giannis. That's all they need from me. Like,
I almost feel like that about Danny Granger was okay for the Pacers, but he used to lock in against LeBron, dude. Against Miami LeBron, he would turn into freaking an all Hall of Famer, dude. It's like, who the hell are you, dude? You were disappeared for 5 games.
Those Pacers teams were annoying, but I liked Danny Granger.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay, so the Bucks were 17 of 40 from 3, 42.5%. That is beautiful. Every single game, that's my ideal. If you can make 42% of your threes and you shoot about 40 a game, that's my ideal scenario for the Bucks at the 3-point line.
I like it.
I'd like them to be a little bit more efficient from the 2-point, but that's a different conversation. Dame was 5 for 10. Brooke Lopez and Gary Trent Jr. were 3 for 6. AJ Green was 3 for 5, and I feel like he can only make threes if he is wide open or has a hand in his face. Like Isaiah Hartenstein twice was like this close to his face, and AJ's just like, yeah, this is going perfectly swished. Twice. He did it twice.
I know.
Last night. Once in the first half, once in the second half. So I feel like he can only make threes when he's wide open or absolutely blanketed, which accounts for most of his threes. If you're kind of in between, then those are the ones I feel like he misses. But wide open or with a finger in his nostril, he's hitting it.
Yeah, that's really weird, dude. You would maybe it's because I don't know. I'm just trying to play a little devil's advocate. Maybe it's because he has to think, is this guy going to close out hard? Is he going to try to run me off the 3-point line? Is he going to try to
have hesitation, maybe?
Yeah, he has to think about it a little bit. Bro,
I should look up the numbers. I should look up the numbers and see if that's a factual thing or if I'm just kind of creating that thought process just on last night's game.
Yeah, it just came to my mind. Not making any speculations or anything.
I was purely speculating just because of what it felt like.
Yeah, dude, he did do it twice though. The first one, I was like, oh hell no.
And then the other 3 that he made was wide open.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned the turnovers. Now, the Bucks had 17 turnovers, which is kind of a lot. It's higher than I'd want them to be, but Oklahoma City is number 1 in the NBA in forcing turnovers.
Yeah.
It was brought up during the broadcast multiple times that Oklahoma City is a good defensive team. They forced 19.1 turnovers per game, which is crazy. But the Bucks only had 17. So, yes, 17 is more than I'd like the Bucks to have, but it is less than the amount that Oklahoma City forces on average. So
Yeah,
I'll take the middle ground there. I'll take that. And what really does it for me is it only allowed 13 points off turnovers. So this is where I bring the efficiency part of it in. I can live with 13 points off of 17 turnovers. Just if the Bucks were a little bit more efficient on their 2-point shots this game, this could have been a 25, 30-point victory against one of the better teams in the NBA. Defensively, I think the best part of this was Ajax against SGA. He was 8 of 24 from the field, 2 for 9 from the 3-point line. He shoots 34% on the season, and he was under 25% last night. Ajax did a really good job. He finished with 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists when he normally averages 30, 5.5, and 6.
Destroyed him.
I'm really hoping the NBA website ends up giving the matchups for this game because I want to know what they were officially. But Ajax spent most of his night guarding SGA.
Yeah.
And they tried to target some switches, and Damian Lillard needs to be given some credit. And AJ Green needs to be given some credit because when they were targeted on switches, they did a good job too. AJ Green did get baited into a foul, but that's SGA being a guy who averages 30. Overall, I think the team did really well defending SGA.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We already talked about Giannis, everybody being too little on the Thunder to guard Giannis. Giannis scored 26 points last night. He made 6 free throws. So from the field, he scored 20 points. 18 of those 20 were in the paint.
Yep.
Giannis scored 18 of his 20 points in the paint. Your entire team was too little.
Yeah. They were literally trying every defender on that team. And they were just blitzing them with people coming backside, coming front side. I mean, they were having 2 people come from backside and front side. He was just like, it doesn't matter. Too little.
And the thing that I love about it is between the Hawks game and this game, Giannis is making really good big-to-big passes.
Yes,
and Brook Lopez has been a beneficiary of it.
Really nice call.
So I've really enjoyed what I've seen there. And then he just also adds 19 rebounds to go with his 10 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks.
Guy's a fucking machine, dude. Holy crap.
Unbelievable. Last thing. Now that this game's over, can people shut up on the Bucks haven't beat anybody good? As if being 12-3 in your last 15 games against teams that even you think they should beat is somehow not good enough.
Yeah.
Dude, if you're talking about winning 80% of your games, even if it's like the Pistons and, you know, the Nets a bunch of times and the Bulls, I don't care if you're winning 80% of those games. I don't care.
Yeah.
So now that the Bucks have beat the Thunder, and I don't give a shit if it's the NBA Cup and you don't care about it, because the players care about it.
Yep.
So I don't care if you on Twitter that say that nobody gives a shit. The Bucks give a shit. They cared for each other. They cared about it for the guys at the end of the bench.
Let me give a news flash. Just because you say you don't care about the NBA Cup, guess what? They don't give a fuck what you think. I'm sorry, I'm going to swear. They don't give a fuck about your criticism on Twitter about how the shots they take or the losses they have either.
Yep.
So save your stupid-ass opinions.
The Thunder are one of the best teams in the NBA. The Bucks held them to 81 points total. We can get rid of the Bucks haven't beat anybody good bullshit.
Dude, do people really realize what they just did? The amount of threes that teams shoot right now, all the different people that the Thunder can throw at you going downhill. They forced 19 turnovers, and they only got to 80 points because they hit a three with 17 seconds left in the game.
True.
They were in the fucking 70s.
True.
The 70s, bro. In the fourth quarter. We whooped their ass, dude.
Yeah.
Can I say the one point that I said a million times to you yesterday?
Yep.
We are a week away from Christmas. I'm sorry. I got to say it again, dude, because I'm just laughing so hard to myself. The NBA wanted to force the 76ers down everybody's throat. We are a week away from Christmas. Do you think they're kicking themselves not having Dame and Giannis, how good they've looked recently on Christmas Day? Wouldn't you rather have Dame and Giannis to show off, when your ratings are dropping and you're not going to put one of the top two best players in the league on the most popular day that you're going to have?
Yep.
Although the NFL is about to take some views. It's going to be some really shitty football on Christmas, in my opinion, because guys are not going to be prepared. They're not going to be healed. It's going to be really sloppy.
Yeah.
The Chiefs might be without freaking Mahomes, so it's going to be really bad, in my opinion. But
I think he's going to play.
I think he'll play that game. I think he's going to miss the game on Saturday. But, how do you not have Giannis, bro? How do you not put Giannis up there? And then they have Wemby going to New York, like that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah. You brought up the 76ers. What I think is funny is how many blanket generic comments people will make when the Bucks lose, even when they win sometimes, saying fire Doc.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking about firing Nick Nurse. And there was a large portion of Milwaukee Bucks fans that wanted Nick Nurse. And I'm just going to toot my own horn for a second.
Do it.
Ever since Mike Budenholzer was let go, I have strictly stated to keep Nick Nurse the hell away from my team.
I can back that up. I have the text messages to prove it. I have the Facebook messages to prove it. You were one of the first people, one of the only people I heard saying that. So kudos to you, because he is not handling that situation well.
His day's got to be getting pretty numbered.
I don't know if he's going to get another job, dude. I mean, he had one magical run with Kawhi in the playoffs, and then they were kind of bad in Toronto. Now they've been bad in Philly ever since. It's kind of a mess. You can't even get your superstars to, lock in. I mean, how long is Maxey going to want to deal with that shit? I know he already got paid. He doesn't have to stay there anymore. It's the league that we're in, dude. Maxey could get traded real soon.
He could demand himself out, and I would love that for him as long as he doesn't go to like Chicago or something.
Yeah, agreed.
But I agree with you. I think Nick Nurse, if he's fired soon, he's gonna end up only getting as high as the first chair.
Yep, I agree.
That'll probably be his last head coaching job, and he'll get like a defensive assistant position.
Defensive position.
All right. Anything else you want to say on the Bucks? They have 3 games between now and next week. So we will have Friday at Cleveland, Saturday against Washington, their 6th back-to-back of the season because the NBA scheduling is the worst in professional sports.
Yeah.
And then they play Monday at Chicago. So 3 games between now and next Thursday. Sorry.
Yep.
That we have. Anything else you want to say on the Bucks?
Still a joke to me that we're still only 11th best odds to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy, but hey, I'm just going to let that marinate with all the people that didn't want to schedule us on Christmas.
Yeah, I just work here. So we're going to switch. Got a little guest appearance there.
Yeah, she wanted to join the show, apparently. She has some opinions on Devin Williams.
She does have opinions on Devin Williams. All right, well, we're going to talk about Devin Williams.
Yeah.
Now, before we even get into what the Bucks got the Brewers got in exchange for Devin Williams.
Yeah.
I want to have a conversation and have a lesson on perspective before we get into, what the return was. And what brought this about was some posts that I saw naturally on Facebook, because that's where boomers live to complain.
Mm-hmm.
Complaining that the Brewers traded one of the best closers in the game. They got an expiring contract for a starter, an unproven utility man, and some cash. And sure, when you look at it that way, it sounds like it sucks.
Yeah.
Now, allow me to just offer a lesson on perspective and just how you can look at this a different way with more context and just a different perspective. That the Brewers traded a relief pitcher, one of the best closers in baseball, yes, from a position of depth. Trevor McGill was fantastic through the first half of 2024, while Devin Williams was sidelined with an injury, not his first injury. Looking at it, the playoffs is a big part of this. Just Devin Williams and Trevor McGill. Devin Williams' playoff ERA is 23.14. He's pitched 2 1/3 innings, given up 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a 3.429 whip. Trevor McGill in the playoffs has a 0.00 ERA in 3 1/3 innings, 0 walks, 7 strikeouts, and a 0.000 whip. Trevor McGill showed up when it mattered, not only to fill in for Devin Williams when he was hurt in the regular season, but was dominant, actually perfect even, in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Williams pitched 21 2/3 innings in 2024 in the regular season. The expiring contract starting pitcher that they are getting in return pitched 174 1/3 innings in the starting rotation, where the Milwaukee Brewers have a vacancy that was previously occupied by Colin Ray, who pitched 167 2/3 innings last season. So you have a position of depth on a guy who has not performed well for you in the playoffs, and a guy right behind him who has been fantastic in the playoffs. And you're going to acquire a guy who you can plug into your rotation in a spot that you have missing innings. And you get $4.5 million in cash. And you get another super young, fast infielder.
Yeah.
Not to mention versatile infielder.
Yep.
Also, coming to a late inning situation near you is Jacob Mizorowski and Craig Yoho. So not only do the Brewers have a closer replacement, they have guys waiting in the wings they're both going to make their debuts in 2025.
I believe that too.
This is a really, really simple flip in perspective that can make it seem pretty smart for the Brewers to have made this deal.
Nicely done. Yeah, that needs to be clipped. That was well put together. Well thought out. Good job. Okay. I like it.
So let's talk about Caleb Durbin and Nestor Cortes.
You want me to go?
Yep. Go, because
Okay.
I got to switch to my other notebook because that's where I have my original notes. So
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So obviously everybody knows Brewers gave up Devin Williams, got Nestor Cortes, left-handed pitcher. On Cortes, he is a 2022 American League All-Star. So we're getting a former All-Star pitcher, lefty, right into the starting rotation. So that's going to make 2 former All-Stars that the Brewers are going to add to their starting rotation when they won the division last year in a rebuild year. Just want to make sure everybody understands what's going on. He played 5 of 7 seasons with the Yankees. He also pitched for the Orioles and Mariners. He's appeared in 135 MLB games, 86 of those being starts. He has compiled a record of 33-21 for a 3.80 ERA. In 2024, he pitched in 31 games, 9-10 record, 3.77 ERA. So that's a good year. 3.77 is a good ERA, especially Yankee Stadium with that tiny little short porch out there in right field. And 174.1 innings, as Tyler stated before, 162 strikeouts and a 1.15 whip. And you're handing a former American League All-Star over to a guy named Chris Hook. That makes me feel real good. Just as, when you watch the Packers, so when the Packers went from from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers and then to Jordan Love, they had a guy sitting on the bench that was a quarterback's coach that was like, yeah, as long as that old guy is there, I feel pretty good about it. He knows what he's doing over there. He's going to fix all the mistakes.
He's a savant.
Yeah.
And I want to start interjecting another name into this. And the Brewers actually added another title to him. They gave him another like game strategy coach title. Is Jim Henderson.
Okay.
I want to start getting him like as the 1B to Chris Hook. Because Chris Hook's he might get a manager job someday.
He might, honestly. That's if he wants it, obviously.
Right. Yeah, he's a fantastic pitching coach. I would argue the best in the game. And if that were to happen, obviously we would be happy for Chris Hooks to get a promotion, even though he's spent basically his entire career in the Brewers organization. As long as he wants it, whether it stays as the pitching coach or if Pat Murphy retires in 5 years and Ricky Weeks takes over as the manager and they make Chris Hook the bench coach, like I'm fine with that. Jim Henderson, I believe, is a guy who could just instantly take over as the pitching coach and continue the culture of the Brewers developing great pitching.
Yeah, yep. Love that. So you want to give your thoughts on Cortes and then we can kind of do Durbin back to back? Or
Yeah. So looking at it, again, this is probably something I could have baked into the complaining about, getting a rental starter. He did have an injury in 2023. Now, per Adam McKelvey, the Brewers did, quote, extensive work on the medicals, as did the Yankees on Devin Williams, who missed the first half of last season. So there's equal give and take on the risk there as far as injuries are concerned. It's not the Brewers are only taking on an injured guy for a healthy guy. Like Cortes was healthy for all of 2024. He had an injury in 2023. Devin Williams was injured for the first half of 2024.
That's fair.
So there's some risk there. Now, looking at him, he seems to me kind of like a left-handed Frankie Montas.
I'm okay with that.
He has a big variation of different fastball types and a changeup and a sweeper, and he mixes them up. That's pretty much the easiest way that I can dumb it down.
Okay, it's fair.
I can, and maybe I'll do this in a separate video or as a graphic, but I have all the advanced numbers. But looking at the 2022 season, he was 8th in Cy Young voting. He was 5th in ERA and ERA plus. He was 5th in WAR, and he was 2nd in WHIP.
Wow.
So the Brewers are getting a guy who's going to fill a big need in the rotation. And as much as we love Brandon Woodruff and are hoping that he can come back and be as dominant as he's been in his career, having Nestor Cortes does give you a reliable option, in my opinion, in your starting rotation.
And you know what? I think he's really going to love playing in Milwaukee. Just kind of the Brewers brand, really since like 2018, where people come here and they just love playing here. It's almost like I'm making a lot of correlations to the Packers, but like every guy that comes from a different organization when they were drafted there and they leave and they bring them to Green Bay or Milwaukee, like they love playing here. They love the fans. The fans aren't disrespectful and going crazy. Most of them, I feel like.
Yeah.
The media isn't going to go crazy on you like the New York media. He doesn't have to deal with the dumbest rule in all sports with the no facial hair. That's literally the dumbest thing of all time. So, I mean, I think he's going to love it here. I think he's going to thrive. To me, it kind of, and I'm going to make a Bucks correlation here. It almost feels kind of like a Taurean Prince kind of signing where like people are going to kind of forget about it, with all the big names moving around. Juan Soto's going to be talked about for the next, 12 months, his contract. But it's going to be an under the radar move, and the Brewers are going to be, competing for first place or in first place, end of July, end of August, and Cortes is just going to be freaking mowing people down with his fastball and his different arm angles. And I couldn't believe people were complaining about that, by the way, but whatever. Dude, the pitching lab with the Brewers is going to go fucking nuts with that, dude. They're gonna seriously go nuts. So I feel like it's gonna be a really underrated move that people are gonna look back on and be like, remember that Devin Williams trade? Yeah, it worked out for the Brewers.
Yeah, and this is a thing too, is like I can see this totally being a win-win trade.
100%.
Just like the Burns trade for the Brewers.
Yep.
Like, it was like, oh my God, the Brewers only got a starter and a third baseman for him. And then Joey Ortiz, his name popped up, not ever as like a contender for it, but he popped up in Rookie of the Year conversations.
Yeah.
Like that's how well he played. We're going to have some thoughts as we shift into Caleb Durbin here, but I really think there's an opportunity for this to be a win-win trade. Obviously, the Yankees needed a closer. The
Mhm.
Brewers had a position of depth. It's not going to shock me if Devin Williams pitches well for the Yankees.
No.
It would surprise me a little bit if he pitched well in the playoffs because that hasn't been his forte. I mean,
Mhm.
he punched a wall to miss one playoff run, and then he's had 2 really bad playoff runs.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate, and it's not the way that I would have wanted his tenure to end in Milwaukee.
Mhm.
But the Brewers, they got a guy to fill in their rotation, and then they got Caleb Durbin. So
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on Caleb Durbin?
Well, he's young, as you mentioned before. He's only 24 years old.
Yep.
He was on track to be the starting second baseman for the Yankees. So we got a guy who the Yankees believe is a starter-level MLB player. That is
Can I
very
jump in?
important.
Because I have a couple quotes from Yankees people.
Okay. So that's all I'm going to say about that. He spent most of last season in the AAA, where he batted slashes of 287, 396, and 471. He had 23 doubles, 10 homers, and 60 RBIs. In the fall league, he really started to make a name for himself in the fall league. He had slashes of 312, 427, and 548. So those are good slashes right there. 5 homers in 24 games to go along with 29 stolen bases. When I watched him play, and I saw him just running around the bases, hitting the opposite field, hitting for high average, stealing bases, I was like, this guy's a Brewer, dude. This guy is a Brewer. We're gonna make a team of all Mighty Mouses that steal all the bases.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So looking at it, Aaron Boone on November 11th being interviewed talking about Caleb Durbin. His quote was, "I think he's a stud. He's going to play a big role for us this upcoming season. He's really competitive, tough, hard-nosed player."
Who's that sound like?
Mm-hmm.
A guy who just won a Gold Glove, by the way.
Mm-hmm. The Yankees vice president of player development quoted, "He's a grinder. He does a little bit of everything."
Bro, this guy is a Brewer.
You just did the Italian hands. I literally wrote in my notes, he's almost like a right-handed Sal Frelick with a little more pop.
Dude, he is a Brewer, bro. He's a Pat Murphy Brewer, I should say.
Not only that, he actually played with Pat Murphy's son for the Dock Spiders in 2020 and 2021 in Fond du Lac. So he's already played in Wisconsin before. Robert Murray said the Brewers' comp on Caleb Durbin is Dustin Pedroia.
What?
That's their comparison. The Brewers' team comparison, as reported by an MLB insider, is Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah, sign me up, dude. I love me some Dustin Pedroia.
He's played second base, shortstop, third base, and center field. I don't think he's going to be playing any center field for the Brewers. Where do you think he's going to play?
Okay, so this is
give me the Brewers infield from second base to third base.
So to me, because he was going to be slotted in for second base, I was just like, okay, maybe the Brewers see that with Willie Adames moving on, maybe they're just like, okay, we just slide him in at second base. We have a platinum glove player. We can just move Terang over to shortstop. He clearly has the range and the arm to play shortstop, and then you just keep Joey Ortiz over at third, and I don't think anybody's going to complain about that, to be honest with you.
So I have a little bit more of a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type outlook on this.
Yeah.
Where Bryce Terang just won you a platinum glove at second base. Set it and forget it.
Okay.
I'm playing 160 games at second base.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And you spend all of spring training alternating Durbin and Ortiz at shortstop and third base. See where they each feel comfortable. And honestly, I liked what I saw from Joey Ortiz at third base last season. I think I would leave him there, and I would consider playing Caleb Durbin at shortstop.
I mean, I don't hate that because, like you said, you know what you're going to get at second base and third base if you just leave them there. And if you can get him up to speed at shortstop and you know what you have in these 2 other spots, I mean, why do anything?
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Yep. So the last couple things that I have on Caleb Durbin, he set the Arizona Fall League record with 29 stolen bases. The next highest player in the Arizona Fall League this year had 12.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
The Brewers have a chance to lead MLB and maybe even just the NL in stolen bases this next season.
1,000,000%. Especially if Christian Yelich comes into spring training healthy and he plays the entire season.
Yep. And with the way Churiel ended last year, I mean, he's going to be a little bit more aggressive on base as well, I think.
Terang could lead the league.
Yep.
Tyler Black is playing more games as the backup first baseman, which it seems like is a possibility.
Yeah. Would love to see Sal Frelick on the bases a little bit more so he could steal some bases. Yeah. Garrett Mitchell,
fully healthy season would be beautiful because I still believe that he's got 5-tool potential.
100%. 100%.
Looking at it, if you look at his total numbers from the minor leagues last season, he played at 3 different levels. He batted 269, 374, 407. Those are kind of just average numbers. 134 walks, 111 strikeouts, and 110 stolen bases.
Oh.
He had more walks than strikeouts and almost equal the number of stolen bases as he had strikeouts.
Bro, so you started bringing it up a couple of years ago with their drafts that they're going for contact guys, right? And, you know, I started paying closer attention to that when you pointed that out. How many times I like to say this, dude? This guy is a Brewer, bro. He is a Pat Murphy Brewer.
What's crazy is his AAA numbers were better than his total minor league numbers. So he got better as he went up leagues. In AAA, he was 287, 396, 471 for an 867 OPS. That's an above average baseball player. He had 10 home runs in that time, 47 walks, 37 strikeouts, 29 stolen bases in 82 games.
I love the Brewers, man.
I mean, 162 game season, you can, I would say, almost double the 82 games that he played in AAA. That puts him on a pace of about 50 to 55 stolen bases.
I'm with it.
To go with Terang, who stole 50.
I'm 100%. I'm with it, dude. Let's do it.
Dog, the Brewers are about to be built different.
Dude, I'm really happy that we had an opportunity to talk about the Brewers in December before Christmas. I mean, it's nice to kind of get a little reset with the Brewers, get everybody kind of excited about it. I mean, the pitchers and catchers report in February, so a couple months. So the Brewers seasons over the last couple of years have been really, really exciting, even though they've been flipping people. Another Packers correlation here is we've lost some star power, but we've remained competitive. And actually, in my opinion, got a little bit better, kind of like the Packers did when they got rid of 2 superstars. So
a little less top heavy, a little more all around.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about the Packers.
And I think that gives you a better chance in the postseason as well, because you don't have to rely on just one guy to have a good postseason to advance, because you have other guys that can pick them up. Yeah,
I'll say with the way that Churiel was looking, I mean, obviously super clutch in the playoffs, super clutch towards the end of the year. If we can get a healthy, I mean, if we can get the consistency that Contreras has been showing, and we can get a healthy Yelich going into the playoffs with what Churiel is looking like. He's not going like this, by the way. He's going like this.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out right away.
Make that clear.
If we can get a healthy Yelly going into the playoffs, I think that's where, you know, when the pitching is going to be the pitching, that's where the Brewers can make some noise in the National League.
Yeah.
They just need that one extra bat. And Yelly last year, that sucks. It was kind of like the year before with Woody, where it was just like horrible timing, you know, with his injury. And we'll see what's happening. But Brewers, for all the complaining that people do, they do a really nice job. Matt Arnold does a fantastic job, you know, fielding a competitive team every year. So,
and he won Executive of the Year for it.
Yeah, and he should have.
Deservingly so.
Yeah.
All right, so we wanted to have that conversation about Devin Williams again. Next week, we're going to have one more Badger game for basketball and 3 more Bucks games. So it's going to be all basketball again next week, but it's going to be next week Thursday. So we will see you guys then. And go Bucks, go Badgers, and just take some time to consider the other perspective if the way that you see it currently isn't, you know, the greatest.
Yeah.
Just take a second to step back and be like, hey, is there a different way I can look at this that will be better for me, that I can understand this better, that it will look better for my future? Because you can do this with more things than just a baseball trade. I promise.
Agreed.
All right. I will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.